Affordable drug pricing became a national talking point this year when the price of Mylan's EpiPen skyrocketed over 400% during the summertime. So what will the pharmaceutical industry look like under the Trump administration? Joining me right now is the chairman and CEO of Allergan, Brent Saunders. Brent, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So are you expecting big changes under a Trump administration?
I don't think so, in the sense that a lot of people fear. I think that we finally have a government that appears to be pro-growth, pro-innovation, and pro-deregulation, all things that could be really good for innovation and the biopharmaceutical industry. So I'm very optimistic that our future is bright. That being said, we have to deal with one issue, which is drug pricing. And that has angered Americans, rightfully so. We're in an era of populism, and this is an important issue. So we need to self-regulate and self-control on this issue. And I know people are skeptical whether we can do it, but I do believe this industry is filled with great people trying to do good things to solve unmet need, and so we can be disciplined on pricing.
How do you do it? Over the summertime, Hillary Clinton was very vocal. She basically said, look, if I become president, we're going to put a cap on drug prices. At that point, all of the pharmaceutical stocks sold off. People were worried about being over-regulated. Now you've got Donald Trump in there saying we're going to roll back regulations, but still, people do not want to see outsized prices for prescription drugs. How do you keep the price down?
And by the way, I believe people are right. They shouldn't see outsized price increases for prescription drugs. We have a social contract, and I wrote about this on my blog over the summer, and Allergan has committed to it, which says we need to invest in innovation for cures and treatments for unmet medical need, and we need to charge a price for our medicines that allow us to invest in R&D, but we don't need to engage in price gouging activities or take serial double-digit price increases. We can exercise self-restraint such that our net prices at Allergan are mid-single digit or just slightly above the cost of inflation. So Allergan, a very successful growth biopharmaceutical company, can deliver strong shareholder return, yet not engage in these types of practices. So we're proving that it's possible. That being said, I think we need the rest of the industry to do it. And given the pro-growth government that we have coming in, if we get this particular issue under control, I think we're going to have a golden era of innovation. The worst thing that we can do is have what Hillary Clinton was suggesting, a government takeover of the pharmaceutical industry. That will stifle innovation. That will really, I think, set us back in terms of solving some of these really important disease areas like cancer, Alzheimer's, or autism, that we really need to solve in the next decade. So
because you want this to be a free market where people can invest in the drug industry thinking that they can make money from it. But if you're going to invest in a new product and you know that there's a limit because it's regulated that you can't raise prices, then why would you invest?
Right. Well, I think that's right.
So then how do we see the innovation?
So I hear from some people within the pharmaceutical industry that says, well, we take the price increases because the market allows us. I'm not sure that's true. I think you could say, look, Apple has a patent on the iPhone, and they could triple the price. But the problem is the customers won't pay for it. They'll move on to another phone. They'll go to Samsung. They'll go somewhere else. In healthcare, because the patient doesn't actually always pay for the medicine, it's paid for by a middleman. There's not direct pricing power by the patient. They don't feel it, so there's a perverse incentive there. And so I think we as a pharmaceutical industry need to do our part by pricing our medicines so they're affordable and accessible. And then we need the PBMs, the insurance companies, and everyone else to play a part of this to solve it. It can be solved. I'm very optimistic it can be solved.
And that's the pharmacy benefit managers. Let me move on to Obamacare. This past week was the deadline to enroll in Obamacare. We know what Donald Trump has said. He wants to repeal and replace. As a pharmaceutical executive, tell me about Obamacare. What do you want to see in the replacement?
Yeah, so I think we do want to see a replacement. I think we want it to be done thoughtfully. We don't want to see 20 million people just uninsured immediately. But I think we want to go to something more like what Vice President-elect Pence has done in Indiana, where there's some balance between Medicaid providing benefits, but patients also having some accountability for their care, and the use of health savings accounts, something also that incoming HHS Secretary Tom Price, I think, is a big supporter of. So we need to have the right incentives in place. We need to incentivize patients to take care of their health and own their health. We need pharmaceutical companies to be incentivized to find cures versus treatments And we need physicians to be incentivized to help, and insurance companies to help do preventative care so we don't have people in expensive emergency rooms. And so we need an overhaul of the incentive structure, and I think some of these ideas could be built into the Affordable Care Act.
Well, the insurance companies have pulled out, a lot of them, because they say they're not making any money on it. They're going to lose $1 billion on it when you listen to some of them. But this new study says that premium increases are adding $10 billion to the taxpayers' tab. We're going to see increases in terms of the cost of Obamacare up more than 100% in certain states. You think that what you just said in terms of that replacement will help with the cost?
Well, I think it is, but remember, the biggest problem you have with the current Affordable Care Act is really only sick people are enrolling in the exchanges. And so, therefore, it becomes more expensive. And when the premiums become more expensive, the subsidies from the government become more expensive. And then you have an extra $10 billion bill for the taxpayers. So we need a program that allows us to have a true insurance pool where healthy and sick people are in there, that we incentivize preventative care, where we get treatments, we get away from treatments in our industry, we move to cures, and we try to limit price increases and expenses, and we look at the friction costs in healthcare. There are a lot of people who don't contribute to solving disease, whether it be us or the doctors or the hospitals who really treat the patient. There are a lot of the middlemen who are very profitable but are really friction cost when it comes to healthcare.